Hello, everyone. I'm Adam with D&D Beyond, and thank you for joining me for this week's development update and community Q&A session. We're going to jump right in. Latest updates, what's upcoming. We've got another homebrew spotlight this week. Lauren and Melly, our community managers, were out there this week collecting feats. So we're going to cover some feats. There has been a joke going within the D&D Beyond team since day zero about every time somebody says, here are the feats, somebody, it never fails. They say, what about the hands? And so that is how things go internally here on the D&D Beyond team. So we talk about feats. Somebody says, what about hands? I seriously, there's like a 95% rate of that happening every time that word comes up. So, giving you a peek behind the curtain at what goes on at D&D Beyond. And then, of course, there is the Ask Me Anything portion of our stream. At the end, I will get to as many questions as I possibly can. Let's go. Latest update. So we are very hard at work with Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. As you can imagine, lots and lots of updates and changes coming here for the game as another major rules expansion. So the team is really heads down working on this, trying to cover as much ground as we possibly can before that release. So that is a big part of what we're focused on. We've kind of moved other things around in order to make sure that we're putting as much focus and attention on this as we can. And I wanted to call out that we have had some open roles come in on the team. We've had some members that have moved to some other roles and positions, and so that has left some openings on our development teams. And because primarily with this pandemic, we're starting to see that everyone is working remotely right now, we are putting in some remote employee options there. So if you have always wanted to work on the D&D Beyond team, it is a great place to work. The feats and hands, terrible pun, all of that notwithstanding, it is an excellent place to work. And so we would love to have you join our team if you are a dynamite developer and you love Dungeons and Dragons and other role-playing games. There are opportunities. So please check that out, fandom.com/careers. If you're looking specifically for D&D Beyond, there are some of those roles that are tagged with that under the engineering group, but then there are some other roles in Huntsville, Alabama, or remote. It will list that there. So check those out, and if you're the right fit, good luck, and we will be welcoming several new team members in the coming weeks and months. So that could be you, and want everyone to know about that out there. All right, upcoming Player Tools mobile app. Digital dice rolling is something that's on the roadmap for next. Character builder dice rolling for ability scores. As I talked about last time we were together, this one is going to be pretty cool. It's going to allow for different sets. So as a dungeon master myself, I actually allow the players to roll excuse me. It's like super seasonal changing right now. We've got all this rain going on, and it's finally starting to get a little bit cold. And so I am very hopeful that it is just simply that and not anything, any other kind of sickness that's going around in our world right now. But I believe that I'm fine. So if I cough or anything else today, again, let's cross fingers that it's all allergies and what's going on with the seasons. But digital dice in the character builder, I let my players roll 3 sets of 46, drop the lowest, and then choose which set is the best. So that's going to I know a lot of DMs out there do that, and so this will actually support that. So I hope to demo this one pretty soon, but we have had to stop a little bit on that one because of the Tasha's work that we're doing. We've got some new dice sets coming soon, and then character sheet updates, quality of life changes, and covering some of the rules gaps out there is definitely a big roadmap item as we're coming into the short-term part of the roadmap. All right, we got this homebrew spotlight with feats. So First of all, we've got Warforged Modifications, Aquatic Frame by Fallen Phoenix 4. I'm assuming that's a 4. It might be IV. So apologies if I messed that one up. But let's zoom in here. So Modifications. I love the idea of this. So when I saw this, I thought this was really, really interesting because it allows you to really customize that Warforged. Because if Warforged, with everything that's going on with their story, at least in Eberron, whatever that means for your worlds out there, but in Eberron, the idea that they're built for this purpose of war, it's fascinating to think about, what else could they be built for or modified for, especially if that last war is over with. And so I like this aquatic frame here. Allows you to swim. All of the drawbacks. I could see that you could have desert or hostile environment frame, or like there are several things that you could go with here. Thinking about a Warforge that works in some kind of major blacksmithing operation in the heart of a volcano, some kind of major forge that's creating weapons. Maybe there is a heat resistant frame, or whatever. So there's a lot of possibility here. And when I saw this really got my creative juices going. So wanted to share that one with folks. And maybe there are some other Warforged modifications out there I haven't looked yet, but maybe there are, and maybe there are some that you can add to the homebrew, public homebrew out there that people could use. We've got a pair of shields by I Am Sposta, maybe, if I got that wrong, sorry. And this one, through extensive training and practice, you've learned to take advantage of using 2 shields to protect yourself and even to attack in combat. So ever since I saw that fire giant in, which book would that have been? Was that the Yawning Portal, or was that Mordenkainen's? Anyway, wherever it was, Volo's or Mordenkainen's, I guess, because it would have been in one of the big monster expansions. But the fire giant that had the 2 shields, I have thought about the complete lack of practicality that would involve, but it also is very interesting and noteworthy if you introduce that to players. And so, of course, if players see that, they are going to want to do it too. And so basically, this sets up a situation where the pair of shields are treated as a single weapon, and it allows you to have the different bonuses based on the fact that it is a single weapon. So this was an interesting approach. I thought that it was pretty creative to try to have a feat that would allow for 2 separate weapons to possibly count as one. So this is what we've seen in Unearthed Arcana a little bit, where they are treating the unarmed combat, I believe it's called, fighting style that fighters can choose that allow their unarmed strikes or martial arts to do more damage. There's another way that if you're not holding something in your offhand and attacking, with 2 open hands, you can do additional damage there. So I like this concept, and I think it could be explored more with allowing 2 separate weapons to act in concert and become essentially a single weapon. So this one was interesting as well. All right, then we've got Fast Recovery by Electric, with an interesting spelling there. So Fast Recovery, your body quickly bounces back from afflictions. You gain the following benefits. So it is a constitution increase. You have advantage on saving throws to resist disease or poison, and your exhaustion level decreases by 2 instead of 1. So this one is a really interesting feat for some of the games I've actually seen pretty recently, where some groups are playing, I guess a hyper realistic, or maybe that's a little funny to say when we're talking about a make-believe game that we play here, but something that maybe has a little more verisimilitude, to what's going on with the real world, and ultimately having exhaustion play a major role. So I've seen a lot of homebrew rules coming up and house rules that are dealing with exhaustion. And so I think that this really, really plays well with a lot of those that I've seen out in the community for whatever reason. I don't know, some stuff just picks up sometimes. I've seen several discussions about that. And so seeing this one was interesting, and I think it would be, really, really useful in that kind of game. Then we have Blood Magic by Uri 1453. Blood Magic. So let me see if I can get to that one here. You've learned hidden secrets to infusing your magic with your own life force, sacrificing your own vitality to empower your spells. You gain a Hemocraft die. So I like the word there already. That was something that I really dug when I started reading this feat, which is a D6. And so essentially, this is what I really like about this one. And you can get into the details. I won't read the whole feat to you here, but what I like about it is we have seen with what's gone on with the Unearthed Arcana version of the psionic die. Is that what it's called? Psionic die? I think it is. Anyway, I don't know what it's called, but I use it on characters. I'm actually about to play in a Gotham City based 5th edition campaign with some friends, and I am playing the character Grifter from Wildstorm and DC Comics. And so I'm using a Psi Knight to represent Grifter. And so with that, really digging into how that, psionic or psychic die, I can't remember what it's called. But I like the idea of that, or superiority dice that you see with Battle Master fighters. And of course, you can gain those through feats as well. And so this was a really interesting approach to me. And I think that there is quite a bit that could be unlocked in doing something like this for different kinds of spell casting. So providing another resource. So for players who want that added complexity, finding a way where they have flexibility through the feats to add something similar to those maneuvers and superiority dice for spellcasters, really, really interesting. Then we've got Secrets of Undeath, Lichdom by Tucker H. So this is another, what I imagine is a series. I'm going to have to go out there and look to see if there are other Secrets of Undeath feats that are out there. I imagine I would find some, but this one is based around Lichdom. And so this is, it's got a very, very hefty prerequisite here. And I think that that is very needed based on the power level of the feat. But, ultimately, if you've ever played a super high level game and you're getting to 17th, 18th, 20th level, all of that, then I think that that in a lot of ways, this is not actually that powerful compared to the power level of the characters out there. And these are the kinds of things that can be really, really interesting and enjoyable and fun for the end of a campaign. And so the thing that I wanted to call out about this feat is I like this concept of, a lot of times I do this with magic items in my campaigns, where I am thinking through, and of course I talk with the players quite a bit to figure out what their goals are for equipment and, what are these magic weapons. A lot of times I'll use essentially legacy style weapons that grow in power as that player is, leveling up throughout the campaign. I like the concept of a feat like this because it allows there to be a mechanical, very tangible goal for a character to reach, because ultimately, by 18th level, getting into those higher levels, an ability score increase is going to happen for every class somewhere around there. And so having that ability score increase available actually allows a player to kind of map out the progression and where they want to end up with a very important transformation like Lichdom, or, there might be a version of this, maybe not quite as high of a level, but a version that allows, someone to become a werewolf or werebear, or, that kind of thing. But it gives the players some agency toward mapping out and charting out the course that they want to go. And then it allows the dungeon master, by virtue of introducing this to the campaign, especially if it's at the player's request, it allows the dungeon master to know what that player is wanting to get to. And so it just allows for a lot more interaction and collaboration about the pathing of a character. And so I just really like the concept behind a feat like this. All right, then we've got Cantrip Aficionado for a wizard here. I'm sure there are others. By, oh, and I'm sorry, that was, if I read that right, I think it was, oh, get off my screen, man, this thing with Zoom. That was Alt F4 will help. That's what I thought it was. So Cantrip Aficionado, again and again and again, you've mastered the basics. You learn 4 cantrips of your choice from the wizard spell list. So this is, so, you know, I think that a lot of people out there would say that this is very broken, that, you know, adding 4 cantrips for the price of a feat that, you know, a character can utilize is, you know, more powerful because a lot of characters barely get 5 or 6 by the time they're 20th level. And really, I think this comes down to understanding of the cantrips themselves and the way that almost horizontal progression or just flexibility and utility comes into play in the game. So again, this might not be for all tables. This is something that I actually probably would allow because the thing that I have run into many, many times in the past at my tables is, you know, a spellcaster player that has a really, really great idea for something and they would love, love, love to do it. And then all of a sudden, you know, they can't do it because they don't know that cantrip. They didn't pick up Mage Hand because since they could only grab 2 cantrips, they had to go with a damaging one and Minor Illusion, because if you're not choosing Minor Illusion, you're probably playing wrong. But ultimately, you know, I do like that this does increase the flexibility that, you know, someone could have for those cantrips. And it also allows, since there aren't prerequisites, it allows other classes to pick up some cantrips here or there. So again, your mileage may vary, and this may be, you know, too powerful for your table, but I do think that the flexibility and utility is something that I personally really, really enjoy playing with in my groups, and I probably would allow this one. All right, Polearm Legend by Noximus. And this one is all about, it's kind of like leveling up with, you know, leveling up with Polearm Master. So this, you know, again, I imagine there could be other versions of a feat like this out there too, but using polearms as if they had finesse and reach properties. Critical hit is expanded. So this is majorly leveling up the ability to use that polearm, which of course is a great archetype out there that many of us enjoy seeing in movies and everything else. And so I really like the flavor behind the feat. I think that, you know, from a prerequisite perspective, so, you know, this one is doing this in a flavor text per way, I think, but I believe it's essentially saying, you know, you need Polearm Master first. There could be a level requirement here too, because again, like some of these are pretty powerful abilities, but I do think that it works as long as you're a sufficiently high enough level in the game. And it definitely fulfills that need of making a player feel incredibly cool with what they're doing, but also just providing more combat options. So again, very similar to the cantrip feat, it allows more options for a turn for a player. And you know, again, as long as you're keeping an eye on what's going on with the balance of your game, I think the idea and the concept behind this is pretty compelling. And then finally, Gunslinger Grappler by Composure Man. And I loved the name of this one. So you've got some ability score prerequisites, but you can hold your own in close quarters grappling. So again, on this one, it's doing a lot of things, and it might not be going through rigorous design balance passes. But who knows? I don't know how much this has been play tested. It may work just fine at the table. But either way, I like the idea of being able to essentially get into some gun foo here, because the current rules in the game don't really support that. I think that there is an unearthed arcana fighting style option that gets into a little bit more of being able to use guns in close combat and that kind of thing, because the reason I think that is because I believe I picked it up for the grifter character I was talking about earlier. But I do like the idea of being able to use the ranged weapons in a more brawling type way, because I gravitate towards the brawlers anyway. So this was a look at 8 different feats, not hands, 8 different feats from the community this week. I appreciate everyone who submitted things. It's truly interesting to see every time that happens. It's always really cool to see the creativity and everything coming from the community. It really is fascinating. And, with thousands and thousands of homebrew elements and items out there that we get to look at, that has been one of my favorite pastimes. Sometimes I'll just lose myself by just reading down through the list. Now, sometimes I come across something that makes me do a Jim Halpert face at the imaginary camera that I act like follows me everywhere. But there's some real gems out there, and I appreciate the creativity, and really want to emphasize that this D&D Beyond thing would not be what it is without the community out there. And being able to see the community be this creative really is a very rewarding part of our job. So thank you for making the homebrew. Thank you for submitting it for this. And we will do this on a fairly regular basis. Maybe we'll probably target monthly at this point, and we'll highlight different kinds of things. So get out there and make some things, and we may talk about it here during a dev update.